Hello everyone. Welcome to the 60 days 60 previous year topic discussion session. So let us start with our first topic, the first previous year topic today, which is you might have all seen this image in your practice test as an image based question or concept based question. So by seeing this image, you have to think of these four questions. You need to know what the condition is and how does this condition present and what causes this condition and how are we going to manage this case. So let's start with the diagnosis of the condition. As you all can see, there is a conical projection of the cornea where the center of the cornea, the apical cornea, is protruding forwards in a conical shape. So it gives us the diagnosis keratoconus. So by this image, we know the cone-shaped projection giving us the diagnosis keratoconus. The name itself says keratoconus. The cornea is cone-shaped, right? And also this can also come as an image-based question, not only as the diagnosis but also as the identification of the signs. You can see this V-shaped indentation of the lower lid when the patient looks down. In this image, you can see the patient is looking down and the lower lid is giving away the V shape, right? This V-shaped turning of the lower lid on down gaze is known as what sign? This sign is known as Munson sign. Okay, this can be asked as an image-based question. So let's dive into the topic. So keratoconus, it is an ectatic condition. When we say ectasia, it means dilatation, right? The cornea is being dilated and protruded forward in a conical manner. And it is a non-inflammatory condition and a progressive condition. It is not stationary, and with age it increases. And keratoconus is a common condition seen in early 20s and the growing years, teenage and early 20s, and it is a non-inflammatory condition. Let's discuss about the causes, right? The etiology. So the definitive cause for the keratoconus was not yet diagnosed, but these are the most common risk factors. So the first risk factor is family history. So if there is a history of similar condition in the family, it gives us that there is something wrong with the there is some genetic involvement, and commonly in this condition, this genetic involvement is causing changes in the corneal collagen, leading to these changes, leading to the conical protrusion, dilation, all these changes. It is due to the collagen changes in the cornea, and also history of frequent eye rubbing. This may be a key word in the question. A 20-year-old male or a 16-year-old female presenting 2-year OPD with frequent change of classes or frequent history of frequent eye rubbing. All these conditions, when they're mentioned in the question, you need to identify the keywords. So let's come back to the etiology. Other than family history, frequent eye rubbing, which may be due to the dry eye or commonly due to the allergic conjunctivitis. So all this it can lead to the stromal thinning and thereby leading to the dilation and protrusion of the cornea. And contact lens users, contact lens can cause corneal trauma and decrease the oxygenation at the corneal epithelium, and multiple other reasons leading to the corneal thinning finally. And environmental factors like smoking and UV radiation, because these can lead to reactive oxygen species. So all these conditions, what changes in collagen, stromal thinning due to the eye rubbing or contact lens, and all these environmental factors, what these all do is that they make some extracellular matrix degradation. All these lead to the extracellular matrix degradation, and which finally along with extracellular matrix degeneration, there is a loss of collagenous lamellae. All these conditions leading to finally keratoconus. So this is the etiology. So in the question, you may be asked which of the following is a risk factor for keratoconus or the given condition. And coming to the signs and symptoms. So how does this patient present with? So usually the patients are usually young. They present with blurred vision, and they have frequent change of glasses and glare. So you might have the question of why do they have frequent change of glasses? See, this is the normal shape of cornea, and with keratoconus, what happens is that the cornea becomes more and more conical, right? So what happens is that this is a normal cornea, and when light strikes the cornea, surface of the cornea, it bends in a certain way, right? And and they form an image at a point which is in front of the cornea in case of myopia. So in case of keratoconus, what happens is that as the cornea becomes more conical, it becomes more steep, right? So the bending of the rays at the corneal interface, cornea air interface will become more. So the light bends more, right? So this is the conical cornea, keratoconus cornea. So as the light strikes the cornea, see how it is bending more than the regular cornea. See, the light bends more and there is increase in myopia. So the patient has blurred vision, young patient, and the patient usually present with myopic astigmatism. The question may be asked as, what kind of refractive error do you um, expect in the patient of keratoconus? It is myopic astigmatism, because the light rays tend to bend more and they form an image far in front of the retina, right? They present with frequent change of glasses because this is a progressive condition. The conical shape keep on increasing, and lens so the image formation also changes with the increase in the conical shape, and there is glare. So these are the symptoms the patient usually presents with. Coming to the signs, these may be asked as an image based question. So these are the common signs seen in keratoconus. In the first image, you can see again, as you have seen in the first image, it is the Munson sign or Munson sign. It is the V-shaped indentation in the lower lid on down gaze of the patient. You can see the V-shaped indentation on the lower lid, right? And in the second image, see this image. This is Rizzuti sign. So what is this Rizzuti sign? Is that uh, in Rizzuti sign there is arrowhead pattern of the light formed on the nasal limbus when light is thrown from the temporal limbus. See here, here we are throwing the light from this direction. This is the temporal limbus and this is the nasal limbus. So you can see when the light is thrown from the temporal limbus, you can see an arrowhead pattern in the nasal limbus, right? Here you can see like a arrow-like pattern here, right? This is Rizzuti sign. An arrow-like pattern is formed in the nasal limbus and the light is thrown from the temporal limbus because of the conical shape of the cornea. This is Rizzuti sign. And the next sign is okay. This this is the oil droplet reflex on indirect illumination, or actually on retro illumination. On ophthalmoscopic examination, you can see an oil drop reflex in the patients with keratoconus. Um, you have identified the three signs: Munson sign, Rizzuti sign, and oil drop reflex. Oil drop reflex is not on retinoscopy; it is on ophthalmoscopy. On next comes in retinoscopy. What kind of finding do you expect in the retinoscopy? You see, wait, oil droplet reflex. So, what kind of sign do you expect in case of retinoscopy? In retinoscopy, and again, yeah, oil droplet reflex is also known as Charlick's sign. So in retinoscopy, you can see scissoring reflex. And one other finding here is Vogt striae, seen in case of keratoconus. Vogt striae are the vertical striae. In this image, you can see these vertical lines on the cornea. These are due to stretching. These vertical striae are known as Vogt striae. Right? These are the signs and symptoms you need to know. You need to know about the Vogt striae, scissoring reflex. You need to know about the Munson sign, Rizzuti sign, and oil droplet reflex. Next, these are the signs and symptoms. You know the etiology, you know the signs and symptoms. Let's discuss about the management part. So coming to the management, you need to know the diagnosis, how the diagnosis of keratoconus is made. With the presentation, the patient has myopic astigmatism, which could be a key feature in your diagnosis in the clinical examination. And then on retinoscopy, there will be a scissoring reflex, and on examination, you'll see an oil droplet reflex. But the definitive diagnosis is made by corneal topography, because the corneal topography means we are examining the corneal surface. Now, the corneal surface is altered because of this conical protrusion. So corneal topography helps with definitive diagnosis of the keratoconus. So how do you manage this case? The cornea is thinned out and being bulged forward. So this thinned out cornea needs protection. So rigid contact lens will be a viable management of viable option in the treatment, and you can strengthen the cornea using collagen cross linking, and keratoplasty is an option, and then comes Intacs. So what are these Intacs are? These are the intracorneal stromal rings. They strengthen the cornea. In this image, you can see there are within the cornea, you can see the ring-shaped segments. These help in flattening of the cornea. In keratoconus, they'll be more steep, right? These Intacs helps in making the cornea a little bit flat, thereby reducing the conical effects of this keratoconus. The curvaceous myopia will be reduced by this Intacs. So this is about the diagnosis. Collagen cross-linking, rigid contact lens, keratoplasty, and Intacs commonly used in the management of keratoconus. Uh, so let's solve a few MCQs. Okay. See, there is an 18-year-old female presented to our OPD with complaints of sudden painful loss of vision, giving no history of trauma. And on examination, there is corneal edema, there is oil droplet reflex and retroillumination. What is the diagnosis? So here are the options. The options: A. Keratoconus, B. Acute congestive glaucoma, C. Acute eye drops, D. Corneal degeneration, and E. All of the above. C. Now that the patient has oil droplet reflex, do you think the answer is keratoconus itself, or do you want to consider other options too? And the patient has sudden painful loss of vision, which is a key diagnostic clinical finding in acute congestive glaucoma, right? And there is corneal edema present, so it could also be, do you think degeneration is present with corneal edema and haziness? Yes. So do you think the answer is keratoconus or acute congestive glaucoma or corneal degeneration, or other one is acute eye drops? So we forgot to discuss what is this acute eye drops. So acute eye drops, you must have heard about the word eye drops. Eye drops is edema or swelling. So in acute eye drops, what happens is that there is sudden corneal edema, there is sudden swelling of the cornea because of the imbibition of the aqueous into the corneal lamella. See, since this cornea is stretched out and thinned out, right? So what happens? Behind the cornea lies the aqueous. So this aqueous gets imbibed into the corneal layers, causing the corneal edema. And corneal edema is painful because of the irritation of the nerve fibers, because cornea has rich nerve supply. Irritation of this corneal nerves can cause immense pain, and also due to the edema inflammation, the patient will have immense pain. So it can be keratoconus, but does all the conditions of keratoconus present with acute painful loss of vision? No. So let's rule out keratoconus. Then comes acute congestive glaucoma. Do you think acute congestive glaucoma will have retroillumination revealing oil droplet reflex? No. Then comes corneal degeneration. Corneal degenerations may not be painful in all the conditions, and also history of sudden loss of sudden painful loss. Corneal degeneration are progressive and occur over a long period of time. So this is not corneal degeneration. And then comes acute eye drops. Acute eye drops is most likely diagnosis because it has all these features. The trifecta, the sudden painful loss of vision, the corneal edema because of this, of course, and oil droplet reflex, and the age of the patient again. In the developing years, in the early 20s and teens are the commonly predisposed to this condition. So the diagnosis here is acute eye drops, right? Okay, next, HAB striae are seen in. So the options are keratoglobus, keratoconus, amiodarone and congenital glaucoma. Can you please pause the uh, screen and can you please answer this? What is the diagnosis? Keratoglobus, conus, amiodarone or congenital glaucoma? So at first, HAB striae. Just now we discussed about Oak striae. That is different from HAB striae. Oak striae are the vertical lines you have seen in cornea, unlike HAB striae, which are the horizontal lines. It is not seen in case of keratoconus or keratoglobus. Uh, so HAB striae, they are seen in case of congenital glaucoma. These are the horizontal lines present in the cornea in congenital glaucoma, whereas Oak striae are the vertical lines present in the cornea in case of keratoconus. Please don't confuse between these two. And then comes amiodarone toxicity. In amiodarone, what kind of corneal feature do you expect? We expect something called vortex keratopathy. Okay, uh, where you can see owl-like patterns in the corneal epithelium. It is amiodarone toxicity, but here HAB striae, they are characteristic of congenital glaucoma. Next question. What is the possible refractive error in this question, in this condition? Okay. Before answering this question, I need to know there is one more sign in this image. Can you please see the image? See, here the light is thrown from the temporal aspect of the limbus, and on the nasal aspect, you are seeing some arrowhead pattern, right? This is known as Ricciuti sign. Okay, Ricciuti sign gives us to the diagnosis of keratoconus. So in the keratoconus, what kind of refractive error do we see? We see myopic astigmatism. So this is for today. We have discussed the etiology, the common signs and symptoms, and the investigation of choice and management. This is about keratoconus. Happy learning. All the best.